You are ugly. A phrase I had probably heard the most in my life. From the time I was young to this very day, I had been told that phrase in one way or another. The only difference over the years had been that the loud declarations from other children in the playground had turned to harsh rejections from girls in high school to hushed whispers from my coworkers. A lot happened, yet the only constant that remained was the ugliness of my being. As I ran through the empty streets of the outskirts of Seoul, I looked at my bony limbs. Those limbs, which looked no less wider than the snow below my feet, were not mine. I remember I had limbs and a body like everyone else, maybe slightly uglier. No, I remember these limbs. They looked similar to the girl I had planned to spend the week. It was going to be my first experience with a girl, even if it was a hired girl. All my life, I had failed to find a girl who could at least pretend to like me, let alone someone who would actually love me. It all started back in middle school. I was not the best-looking kid around, yet I had garnered enough courage to confess to the girl I liked. It was fine that I was rejected. What was shocking was how she rejected me. You are ugly. 3 words and the face filled with disgust that looked down on me. I can still feel the despair I had felt that day. I kept telling myself that puberty would hit me like a truck and make me bloom, like the ugly caterpillar turning into the butterfly. However, there was no such miracle. There was only one word. Ugly. I could not even confess to my high school crush. My high school romance fantasy ended the day I heard her describe me as ugly to her friends. University was no better. Everyone avoided me like the plague. So I gave up my dreams on being loved. Instead, I focused on my career. I was unable to do anything about my looks. So, like in the movies, I decided to be rich and successful. Then someone who loved my money and power would pretend to love me, lie that I was beautiful. That was just another of my fantasies. All those movies and books, they were all lies. No one loved me or pretended to love me, no matter how successful I became. Korea was the country where beauty mattered over everything else, and I was the only one who had nothing in that regard. I had tried everything. I gave up my glasses for lenses, did my best at work, and made more money than I could spend. Yet nothing brought me love. So in the end, I bit my pride, which did not matter much to begin with, and hired a girl. There were a couple setbacks there as well. Some pretty ones rejected me. Was I really ugly to the point that I could not even pay to be loved? That was when I met her. She was a little pale and bony, but she did not run away. Yet she was the only one that accepted. It was everything I had imagined. We had the best moments, enjoying dates and everything. It did not matter that I was paying her for it. The way she looked at me, it was so full of love. I remember how we headed up to the hotel room. As soon as we entered, I could not hold myself back and embraced her. That was when everything changed. She embraced me tighter with every passing moment, not letting me go even when I tried to force her. A cold feeling entered my heart as I pushed away her face that was buried in my chest, only to be greeted by the face of a monster. Before I knew it, everything had turned black. By the time I came to, I could feel a stinging pain in my head. The clock on the wall that I could read clearly before passing out was now just a blur. I rubbed my eyes, which felt heavy and bloody, as I wondered what happened and where the girl had gone. I heard the door open. I turned around only to see the hotel owner standing there.
I heard some noise in here.
He did not finish his sentence. He just stared at me, his eyes expressing a familiar expression. They were the same eyes that I had seen countless times. The eyes that said, "You are ugly." I did not need the reminder. Those eyes mocked me. Why did they follow me everywhere I went? I hate them so much. I wanted him to stop looking at me, yet he continued to do so. I don't know what came over me after that. I remember screaming and lunging forward. By the time I was aware of my surroundings again, I was standing over his dead body. I had killed him. Scared, there was only one thing I could do. Run. I ran, not knowing where I was headed. Further and further until finally I reached a mountain I did not even remember the name of. I approached a small pond that had formed to look at my reflection. Pale skin, bony hands with long fingers, and white, pupilless eyes. I knew that I had turned into a monster. I stared at the creature in the reflection. Even as a monster, I could not escape my ugliness. I felt my heart ache as sobs leave my mouth, yet no tears rolled down my eyes. It is an ugly sight. An ugly monster crying alone in the mountains. I was all alone, far from everyone else. Perhaps it was better this way. Just my ugly self, alone in the mountain. However, nothing ever seemed to go the way I wanted. As I was finally coming to terms with being alone, a helicopter came, carrying armed men. They looked at me with the same eyes that I had faced so many times, expressions that reminded me of my ugliness. No, I don't want them to see me like this anymore. My body moved on its own. I remember screaming and charging at the men. I don't remember anything after that. By the time I came to, I was in some sort of facility. There were men wearing different kinds of uniforms some distance away. I know the sounds, yet I can't recall what any of those words mean anymore. Still, it did not bother me, for they were not looking at me. Time passed by. Every few days, I would be taken to a different room for experiments, a bag over my head. This way, I do not have to look at their faces being disgusted by my ugly face. And I guess the people running this place agreed to. After a few times, I realized that these experiments were just them trying to kill me. Yet, I do not hate them for it. Instead, I welcome it. For maybe in death, I will finally be free from this ugliness. However, my death never came. They have tried more times than I can count, but have not been able to harm me. My ugly, bony existence that I hate so much, the very thing that I want to escape, is the one trapping me. As another day starts with a bag over my head and a new experiment, all I can do is pray that they succeed. As they left me in a room and removed my bag, I opened my eyes. However, what I saw surprised me. It was unlike any other day. In front of me was a creature with short limbs and a disproportionately large head. As I look at its blank green eyes and face covered in red, I cannot help but think how ugly it is. For the first time in my life, I did not feel the urge to hide. For the first time, I feel like there's something uglier than me making me good looking. A strange sensation filled my heart as the realization dawned on me. Perhaps I am not the most ugly creature in existence. Maybe it is alright if I live a little longer. However, before I could dwell on this thought further, it charged at me. I could not even react as it lifted me and bent me. I felt pain covering me as I felt my neck break. A horrendous scream left my mouth as the monster repeated its movements. Was I going to die? I could not die for so long when I wanted to, yet why did I have to die right when I was thinking about living? I do not understand. As the pain covered my body, I heard some footsteps nearing me. I could tell that it was the people that were watching us. They stopped it and put a bag over my head. Was I saved? I was wrong. I felt a burning sensation as the people started pouring something over the cracks in my neck. I wailed as I tried to free myself from their grasp. Why did they have to kill me? Just let me live. I wanted to beg them, yet all that left my mouth were more monster-like screams. The burning sensation grew more painful and my screams more desperate. They used acid to prevent me from recovering. By the time I heard guns fire, I felt the world come to a standstill. There was no longer any noise, any pain, or constraints. There was only darkness.
Thank you so much for watching the video. Please subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon, and never miss an update.